Before 1978, you wouldn't find modern skylines in China's major cities. Instead, you would find urban avenues filled with commuters on bicycles, navigating an isolated agrarian economy. Today, those exact same locations are entirely occupied by sprawling, hyper-modern megacities, glowing brightly against the night sky. This initial state was the result of a closed system. The government maintained total control over all industries, which resulted in economic stagnation, while Western markets rapidly advanced. This sets up the central question of the modern era: how the fastest economic shift in human history occurred in just a single generation. This isolation ended with the rise of Deng Xiaoping. He instituted an open-door policy, legalizing private enterprise and establishing the first special economic zones in these coastal locations. Functioning as controlled experiments for capitalism, they offered tax incentives designed to pull foreign capital away from global markets into these specific pockets. This highly calculated policy shift ignited a compounding chain reaction of economic growth that continued for the next 40 years. The first phase of growth was driven by a simple equation: an enormous supply of domestic labor meeting massive global manufacturing demand. To meet that demand, millions of people moved from rural farms to highly regimented mass manufacturing roles. The physical output grew as the country became the assembly line for the globe, manufacturing everything from basic clothing to complex consumer electronics. By dominating global exports, China captured a massive influx of foreign wealth, injecting it directly into its national economy. But becoming the world's factory was not the final goal. It was the capital-generating engine required to fund more ambitious development. Instead of hoarding its export wealth, the state executed a strategy of reinvestment, funneling the money directly into infrastructure. They built modern megacities to house their booming workforce, erecting new urban centers across the country practically overnight. To connect these hubs, they constructed the world's largest high-speed rail network. This chart tracks infrastructure spending against GDP. By reducing the physical distance between cities, internal trade became faster and cheaper. This aggressive construction created the physical and logistical foundation necessary for the nation to move from manual labor to high technology. Armed with immense capital and a sprawling logistical network, the economy pivoted again. They stopped copying Western products and started designing their own. Domestic tech titans like Huawei, Tencent, and Alibaba scaled quickly, taking over as the primary engines of the national economy. The economy evolved further as factories integrated advanced robotics and artificial intelligence, building machines that would replace the manual labor that built its initial wealth. This domestic innovation saturated society. The public adopted ubiquitous digital payment ecosystems, allowing them to conduct daily transactions entirely from their smartphones. By mastering AI and 5G networks, the nation shifted its identity from the world's workshop to its technological architect, directly challenging Western market dominance. Compressing a century of industrialization into just 4 decades of rapid growth has resulted in severe environmental and social costs. The modern skyline is frequently trapped beneath thick blankets of smog, a direct byproduct of the manufacturing and heavy traffic that fueled the boom. Simultaneously, a demographic crisis is looming as the population ages, the result of previous family restrictions and the birth rate drops that typically accompany modernization. These are the direct, cumulative costs of reaching superpower status at such high speed. Externally, global markets are reacting as rival superpowers adjust their trade policies to counter this newly asserted dominance. The era of easy growth, powered by cheap labor and massive basic exports, is over. The state now faces a complex maneuver, shifting from an expansionist strategy to a strategy of stabilization. We know they possess the capacity to build a superpower. The test of the next 40 years is whether they can sustain the internal and external pressures required to remain one.